Let's begin. We'll continue from where Rabbi Bresler left off, talking about things that you can and cannot do before davening in the morning. Hi. That chair there.
The question is by Ksuba, the Gemara says, the Makkis, the Gemara Makkis.
Yeah, we had that last week.
Yeah.
Did you give that?
No, that last week was Rabbi Bresler.
Oh.
So we're gonna continue where he left off.
Why is that? The chance is worth money.
All right. So it says the Shulchan Aruch says v'lo le'echol v'lo lishtos. You're not allowed to eat or drink before davening. Aval mayim mutter, but you're allowed to drink water.
I asked him. I could take my medicine and drink water.
Yeah. That's what he said. He said yes.
I asked. Who gave it last week?
Rabbi Bresler.
I asked him.
And he said you could do it.
I think he said I could.
All right, good. Yes. And water you're allowed to drink before davening. Ben b'chol, ben b'Shabbos v'Yom Tov. Whether it's during the week or Shabbos or Yom Tov, you're allowed to drink water. He says Shabbos specifically because once you have on Shabbos you make kiddush. Oh, hello. Talking about what you're allowed to do before davening. Yes, still. Come on. Chair, there's a chair if you get around.
Could you get through?
I'm fine.
You don't have to stay if you want to do something else. So you're allowed to drink water. The reason he says before, even on Shabbos, is because like once you daven Shachris on Shabbos, you're not allowed to eat or drink anything, even water, until you make kiddush. Right? You got to make kiddush on Shabbos. So, but if it's before davening, you don't make kiddush before davening, so you're allowed to drink water, even on Shabbos before davening.
How about coffee?
Oh, we're going to get to that. It's a big discussion. Mishnah Brewer is actually going to talk about it.
I drink coffee.
Oh, you don't.
That's a shul.
Let's see if you're allowed to.
And a thing that Shabbos smoke.
Right.
It's a cliche. You do the whole thing.
Right. Forget Shabbos during the week. Are you allowed to have coffee? I mean, if you just read the Shulchan Aruch.
Okay.
So far, it says you're not allowed to eat or drink anything except for water. So we'll see about coffee. Okay. However, if you're eating or drinking because you're sick, you need to take medicine or you need to eat a certain food because you're sick. The doctor says you got to have orange juice every morning to have your vitamin C, and you got to do it before davening. Then you could drink it. Now that was the Shulchan Aruch. Now let's read the Mishnah Brura on that. V'lola echol v'ha'ivr al zeh amru chazal she'alav amru kazav v'osi hishalachta achrei gavecha amru kadosh baruch hu la'achar she'achol v'shosef v'nizgar kibul of malchus shemayim. So he says that what's the reason not allowed to eat before davening is because it's haughty. You're going to take care of yourself and eat and stuff your face before you greet Hashem in the morning, so it's considered haughty to do that. V'gam his michu divrayim al pasuk lo sochlo al adam. There's a verse in the Torah says you're not allowed to eat blood. Eat blood. So the rabbis say that's in asmachta. It's a hint to also eating before davening. Somehow that's related. Why from that verse? I'm not sure. You're not allowed to eat on your blood before davening. Now, even just tasting, even just you want to take a taste, a little bite of a Hershey bar before davening, not allowed to do that. Mayim mutter, we said water's allowed. But why is water allowed? Because water, what's the whole prohibition? The whole prohibition is because it's very arrogant to eat before you talk to Hashem. But water is a very lowly drink. It doesn't have a taste. It's nothing. So that's not considered arrogant to drink before you talk to Hashem. V'dafka below sugar, but only without sugar. You can't have water and put sugar in the water. Avalim sugar aser. The kol shechein, he says tsukar, which is sugar. The kol shechein,
you can't drink prune juice.
Cannot drink prune juice unless you need it for your health, and like you have to have it then before davening. The kol shechein mashke sheikha shekorin beer. You can't drink beer. V'adei aser. The tea, the coffee. Now what about tea and coffee? There's going to be many opinions on this, so we'll try to get it straight. You're allowed to drink coffee or tea so you could focus on davening. That you're allowed to do.
You said you're allowed to drink coffee?
Allowed to drink coffee and tea. So water you're allowed to drink, coffee and tea. So far that's it. And the reason is because coffee and tea could help you focus, right? You get a little caffeine kick. Right. Specifically, especially in those places where it's very common to drink coffee and you can't focus without it. I think we definitely qualify. However, it's only without sugar and milk. Mishnah Berurah says you cannot put sugar and milk in your coffee. Don't get nervous. However, people are lenient to put sugar in their coffee. But then he continues. He says, however, the Ravid says, what's the whole reason for the prohibition again? It's because it's haughty. You put sugar in your coffee, you have to have it sweet. You're worried about yourself so much. That's a little bit haughty to do that. Rakim nosin hasugar b'toch hatei lamatko. Dezehu also kodem tefila. Aval im lokech ma'at sugar b'fiv beis hashtia vilti zeh ein yachal lishtos hatei ein zeh bechal gaiva. However, he says that it's only considered haughty if you put the sugar in the tea. But if you put the sugar in your mouth and then you drink the tea, that's okay. So where does it come out from all that? If you put like a sugar cube in your mouth, they had sugar cubes, and then you drink the tea, that's okay. But the Mishnah Berurah himself says putting sugar in the coffee or the tea, you shouldn't do that. Don't get nervous. We're not finished yet. Don't worry. 1 second.
That means they're going to get cubes for that.
1 second. Don't worry about it. 1 second. Make sure.
I got you another one. It's not in there.
Okay.
Artificial sweetener.
So that's probably the same as sugar. I think it's the same as sugar. Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, it's good. But they're not healthy for you. You shouldn't. Only Truvia.
What?
You should have Truvia. The other stuff isn't good for you. The Sweet and Low and the Splenda isn't good for you.
I have the other one. I can't think of the name of it.
Truvia.
You gotta go Truvia. Make sure you get Truvia.
Yeah,
It's
Truvia.
called Aqua Pear or something. AQA or something.
So this is the Mercedes Olachel Ma'at Mina Targima Beis Hashtia Kadei Shalolish as David Coffee Liba Rekana Inchum Sad Lahaka. Okay, fine. Im Lomi Shiesh Lachalish Salev Hutzar. Now you okay, fine. We come up Tom Shiamar Mitchila. Okay. Let's stop there for a second. So that's the Mishnah Berurah. So according to the Mishnah Berurah, he says that you're not allowed to put sugar in milk. You're not allowed to put sugar in your coffee. You can have black coffee, but you should know
Milk neither.
what?
Milk neither.
Right, not or milk. But you should know the Aruch HaShulchan, who is a contemporary of the Mishnah Berurah, says that people are lenient to even put sugar and milk in their coffee. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who was a big rabbi in Jerusalem, he passed away in the 90s. He also said you could put sugar and milk in your coffee. However, what he said you should do is you should say a little prayer to Hashem first, right? The whole issue we keep saying is being haughty. So if you say a little prayer, he says to say the words, Shema Hashem v'chaneni, listen to Hashem and have mercy on me, show me chain. So since you're not davening totally before you drink the coffee and sugar, but you're saying a little prayer before you drink it, so you're showing that you're really more concerned about Hashem than yourself.
I got to ask you a question.
Yes.
You said the rabbi in Jerusalem said it's okay.
Right.
In other words, whatever he says you can do, you do. He's like writing the law.
So he's another opinion. Rabbis have different opinions. So the Mishnah Berurah was pretty strict, but you have many rabbis who say you could put sugar and milk in your coffee, and it seems to be that most people are lenient to put sugar and milk in the coffee. There's also Shulchan says you could be lenient.
It's not written anywhere that you can't put it. You know what I'm saying? It's not in the Torah.
No, none of this is in the Torah. This is all rabbinic. These laws are rabbinic about not eating before davening. Now, the reason the rabbi said that is because you don't want to appear haughty before Hashem. So the whole debate is when we said water. Water for sure is. We can go to the other room next time, maybe. I don't know.
In other words, these are what the rabbis say.
Right, it's a debate. So there's always different opinions. Right,
But the Torah doesn't.
the Torah, according to Torah law, let's say the rabbis never said anything. You could have a hamburger before davening if you wanted. Right. According to Torah law, but the rabbi said that's not appropriate, right? The rabbi said that we want to show that we honor Hashem more than ourselves, so we should daven before we eat. So now, but water, right? Water for sure, everyone says is okay because water, that's not haughty to drink water. You're parched. You want to be able to drink water. Or now, and coffee, the Mishnah Berurah says is fine. Seems to be mostly everyone agrees with black coffee because it'll help you focus, and it's not because of haughty. When you have a debate, right? Why is it a debate? Because it's not clear. You could look at it one way. Well, if you put sugar and milk in your coffee, that could look very haughty. Or no, that's just how everyone makes coffee. That's why some of this stuff is just dependent where you live. Maybe where the Mishnah Berurah lived, they didn't always put milk in their coffee. So you're a fancy guy, you're putting milk in your coffee, But here you live in New Jersey in 2019 where everyone does that. Maybe it's not so haughty, So a lot of these things is just how you look at it. But there's many. If you want to put milk and sugar in your coffee, you have many rabbis who you can rely on. That's how I would. I myself put sugar and milk in my coffee, or not sugar. I put Truvia in milk, skim milk.
And milk.
Skim milk, yeah.
Before you daven.
Yes.
then it's okay for me.
Okay, all right, great.
Okay.
Okay, so definitely gotta be more careful. Okay. But this is what he says. He quotes a sefer here. The Pischei Tshuva says, "But you shouldn't drink tea with a group of friends in the morning, right? You shouldn't get together with all your buddies like we are now. Sit together before davening and drink tea." What's the reason? Well, vadzeh ragali stav mize isracher. What's second? What's the reason? The halal kasav Rashba. V'huba bebeis Yosef. The lekach asul Allah namasu b'chavetz v'kadav mishpal kadei shalif nelibo l'shum davar ashi spal v'chen kasav b'shulchan aruch shuasul l'saka b'dvar macherim klal ashi spal v'ragin l'masiv v'schaverim be'es shtiyasatei ragal pa'al ma'idei shema tefillah. He says the reason is because you're not allowed to take care of your needs before davening. He says if you're getting together with your friends to drink tea in a group and you're schmoozing, you might forget to daven, and you're going to start talking about other things, and you're not going to be focused to get to davening on time and to say Shema and all that. So we came out that you're allowed to drink tea before davening, you're allowed to drink water before davening, you can take your pills before davening, you could drink coffee before davening. Mishnah Berurah says not to put sugar and milk in the coffee, but we saw there's many rabbis that say you could put sugar and milk, so you don't have to go buy sugar cubes to put in your mouth and do that whole thing. Okay, now we said b'Shabbos, Klomar, alright, we said this already. Okay, we already mentioned this. Right, that once you daven on Shabbos, you're not allowed to eat until you make Kiddush. Right? So let's say Shabbos morning, you get up, before you daven Shacharis, you could have a coffee, but if you daven Shacharis already, then you can't drink coffee or anything. It's like a fast until you make Kiddush. Right?
What part of the davening it starts to curve? Because I see people, like say we say the brachas in the morning, and once we pass that, I see people on Shabbos go to the kitchen.
Yeah, after brachas you could still, yeah.
You can have the coffee after.
Right, yeah, just after Shemona Esrei of Shacharis. Here he says Musaf. I thought it was Shacharis. Oh, he says to look all over. Yeah, but I believe it's Shacharis. He says this isn't. He's really touching on it here because it's like a side point. But he says to look in the laws of Shabbos. He's going to talk about it more. But I believe after Shacharis, you're not allowed to, that's why you have the Kiddush Club after Shabbos during a Haftorah. People have. You shouldn't do that, but okay. Now we said that if you're sick, you're allowed to do this. Now, what are you allowed? You could eat or drink anything you need if you're sick, meaning for the sickness. The reason is because there's no haughtiness here. You're not doing it because you're taking care of yourself, just because you're hungry before Hashem. You're doing it because you're not feeling well. Even if you're not totally sick, right? You're just a little sick, right? You don't have to be like lying in bed with pneumonia to be allowed to eat before davening if you have a cold or whatever.
Sometimes say you're fine, but people know, like if they don't have something to eat or drink or just drink or whatever, just eat something, because they're not going to eat now. So you say they get up like 7, and they're not getting to the Kiddush probably till maybe 11. So they don't feel so good. So in anticipation of not feeling well, they feel fine. But is it okay for them to eat in anticipation that they'll not feel well if they don't take any action?
So you're asking a question that the Be'er Halacha discusses, and I was speaking with Rabbi Bressler about this morning. I'm going to read that. The Be'er Halacha. So we've been reading the Mishnah Berurah until now. That's by the Chavetz Chaim. The Be'er Halacha is also by the Chavetz Chaim, but it's more in depth discussing the issues, and he writes different laws here also, but sometimes they're more involved. So he writes here, nearly I'll read from here. It says, what do you do in your situation where you're not feeling sick now, but you know that if you don't eat or drink now, by the end of davening you're going to be all messed up. Whatever. Yeah. Right. You're not going to be able to focus and whatever. So what should you do? So it's kasav achronim the ish chalash, a weak person. You're not going to be able to remain normal and healthy until the end of davening. Right. Let's say you go to one of these synagogues where they sing everything and they're not done till 1 p.m. This is Tov Yosar lahater lo sheyispal atzmo bebeso babayis v'yochel ma'at v'achar kach yelech lebeis hakneses lishmoa kaddish u'baruch v'shar divrei kedusha misheyochel kodem hatfila v'yelech lebeis hakneses. So he says what you should do is you should daven in your house, then you should eat, and then you should go to shul so you could say amen to Kaddish and Kedusha. Right? Why do we go to shul? There's a couple reasons. There's a couple things you get when you daven with a minyan. One, there's a mitzvah to daven Shemona Esrei with a minyan, the silent prayer with a minyan. That's one. Two is you answer amen after Kaddish, which is a very important thing to say Yehei Shmei Rabbah. It does a lot of things in the spiritual world, and it's very very potent. And also to say Kedusha. So what the Ver Halach is telling you to do is that if you know you're not going to be able to focus for the whole davening, you're not going to feel well, so you daven in your house, so you're going to lose.
But you get some credit for davening in your house, don't you?
Yeah, you get credit. You get the mitzvah of davening, but you don't get the special mitzvah of davening with a minyan. So he's saying you missed the mitzvah of davening with a minyan, but you should still go to shul after, not to daven again Shemona Esrei, but you could say amen to Kaddish and Kedusha, which so you get that aspect of davening. Is good. So if you're actually like feeling sick now, then you could eat something. If you just know that you're not going to be able to, you're feeling fine now, but later you're not going to feel well, so you daven in your house, you eat something, then you go to shul to say Kaddish and Kedusha. I don't know if people do this, but this is what you're supposed to do. Oh, I don't know people. I don't. Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you something very. Just because people do it doesn't mean it's right. You should always suspect if you ever see something and that people don't do it. So see what the Torah scholars do. If the Torah scholars don't do it, then you should double check. But if it just
this could be the reason. Sometimes I see people like, say the thing starts on Shabbos 8:45, right? So I see people show up 10:00. So maybe I think negative of them because one, you don't have a minyan till you get 10, okay? And why should they come at 10 and prevent you from the flow of the davening? It's like things got to be passed, come back, whatever they do. So maybe in retrospect, those people are might be ones, like I'm judging them.
Right, yeah, could be. Yeah, they weren't feeling well.
Doing the davening at home, having something to eat, and then coming to shul.
That could be. Yeah.
I mean, there could be a case of one.
Yeah, that could be. Could definitely be. That's what you're.
I wake up too late to go to shul.
What?
I can't get up at 7 o'clock.
Okay, well, you try your best, whatever you can do. The minyanim here in Manalpin are very early. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of different mitzvahs. There's so many mitzvahs you could do when you go to shul. There's a mitzvah to daven. That's whether you're in shul or not. There's a mitzvah davening with a minyan. Yeah, every amen. When you listen to Shemona Esrei and you answer amen, you get. It's like you're davening with the chazan, and when you say amen, I think it counts again like you actually said the bracha yourself. So really, you go to shul, you can really get like 3 Shemona Esreis. You get the one you daven, and then you get 2 for answering amen during the chazan's repetition. Then you say kedusha, and then you say kaddish. You hear laning. There's so many mitzvahs you get, and tefillin and shema. So you could still do it at home. You get many mitzvahs. You don't get as many as if you go to shul, but if you daven at home, you still get many mitzvahs. Okay, so that was Gimel. We just finished Gimel. Now we're going to start Dalet, number 4. Hatzameh v'harav, someone who's starving and he's thirsty. Harehim b'chol acholim. He's considered a sick person. If you're starving, you wake up starving and very thirsty, and you're able to still focus on davening, you should daven. Vimlav, but if you can't focus, imratza al yispal ad shiachol v'yishteh. If you can't focus, you should eat and drink, and then you're allowed to eat and drink before you daven. So when are you allowed to eat and drink before you daven? We're talking like a regular breakfast, to sit down and have a piece of toast or yogurt or some fruit. That's when you're either sick or you're very hungry and very thirsty, and you wouldn't be able to focus on davening without that. Okay, what's the Mishnah Berurah say? V'hara'ev, he says you're hungry. The Mishnah Berurah adds the word harbe, means a lot. He adds the word harbe in Hebrew, which means very, or a lot. Meaning, you can't just be like, I'm a little hungry right now, I want to have breakfast. Arnie's bagels are waiting for me. It has to be like you're really, really hungry, I don't know, I guess like, you can use your judgment how hungry that is. V'yishte mashma she'enu mechuyev medikamer im rotze v'tamashum da'ashtav zman hazeh b'lach ha'ach ein mechavne kol kach. Umikol makom im rotze la'echol v'lishtos kodem kedei shechav im muter v'ayimber. It's very interesting. Let's say you're extremely hungry and thirsty before davening, and you won't be able to focus unless you eat or drink. Do you have to eat and drink, or are you permitted to eat and drink? You have an opinion? There's something you have to do. You have to have breakfast before davening. You're allowed to have breakfast before davening. So the Mishnah Berurah said, you might think, what would you think? You have to eat because you're supposed to focus on the words and focus on the davening when you daven. So maybe you have to eat and drink. Mishnah Berurah says no. It says most people nowadays, we don't really have the proper intent when we daven anyway. Right? Most of us are, at least myself, you space out. You're not always thinking of all what the words mean.
That's unfair because I don't feel that way. I mean, I focus. I don't space out.
Every word?
Every word. What am I doing?
Okay, that's very good. You're very right.
On the and or but, something like that.
Right.
But on the meat and the potatoes and what I'm doing, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not weird, but when I'm here,
That's good. That's good. That's very holy. That's very good.
To discipline. That's what you got to discipline.
Right. No, it's definitely very hard.
It's not difficult.
It could be.
You got to get used to it.
It could be also that back in the day, in the times of the Gemara, it says that they would wait an hour before davening to get in the right mindset. Meaning they would have such intent and really prepare and have real intent, and that every word of the davening that they said would have extreme effects in the spiritual world. That it could be that for sure we don't have nowadays. That could be also what he's referring to. But in general, we're considered to not be as focused on davening as they were back in the day. So he says, since that's the case, right, why do you want to eat and drink? To focus better. So he says, even if you would eat and drink, you would focus a little better, but it wouldn't be the optimal focus. So he says, you're permitted to eat and drink, but you don't have to. That's what he says. So what were you saying, Rabbi Bresser?
Yeah, I asked him if you could take a shower before davening. He said no.
Yeah, seems to be about. That's coming up soon. The Shevet Levi, though, there's a rabbi in Israel that says if you're going to, many people go to the mikveh before davening. Like Hasidim do this especially. So he says then you're allowed to. If you're going to the mikveh, you're allowed to daven. But many say that you shouldn't daven. You shouldn't shower before davening. There are. I will tell you. I don't know if you should tell Rabbi Bresser I told you this, but there are rabbis who say you can shower before davening. But according to the letter of law, it seems you're really not supposed to. So,
else probably do. That's why they say.
No, not because they do. If whatever's right, they do. But we're going to talk soon about work. What kind of work you're allowed to do before that? You're not supposed to do work before davening, right? Are you allowed to take in the garbage before davening? You're allowed to make your bed before davening? So we'll talk about that. So you're allowed to shower before davening. So I was arguing with Rabbi Bresler this morning about this. But if you just want the names, okay, there's Rabbi Harfinis. He seems to say that you're allowed to shower before davening.
You don't see that I gave you. You're right. Theoretically, that works.
It's a discussion. I'm not paskening. I'm not paskening.
Taking out the garbage. That's also whatever.
Yeah. I'm not.
If you need a personal need. If you need a shower to get your the engines going,
Right.
Just like somebody, like I say, some people. So I drink the coffee in the morning to get your whatever you need or whatever it's habitual, whatever you got used to. I guess your body got used to.
No, it's definitely as far. That's definitely no. You're saying the reasoning of drinking coffee is that it'll help you for davening. So you're saying if a shower helps you daven, maybe that's a reason to be lenient. That could be. I mean, maybe that's. I don't remember their reasons for saying you're allowed to shower. Those rabbis that say you can, but there are rabbis that say you can do that. We're going to talk about it soon, I think, God willing. But again, I'm not paskening whether you should or not take a shower. You could ask Rabbi Hirsch or ask a bigger rabbi if you're allowed to shower. Okay. Fine. So we just did Gimel and Dalid. When aren't you allowed to eat before davening?
What?
When aren't you allowed to eat before davening? What if you wake up at 3 a.m.? Could you eat then? Is that considered before davening? If you get up at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night.
No, because you can't daven at that time.
Oh, right. So aren't you saying?
Wait a minute. If I get up at 3 o'clock
steak at 3
right,
o'clock,
right.
It doesn't
and I'm
affect
hungry,
anything.
can I go in the refrigerator and take a few grapes?
Right. So what are
sunrise?
Right. Oh no, not sunrise. Dawn.
What do you say?
So Arnie's right. You're not allowed to. You're allowed to eat before the time for davening has come. So technically,
that's at night.
Right. So technically, but it could be very early.
Not now. 3 a.m. 4 a.m.
Right, whatever time dawn is, when the first sliver of light comes out for the sun, way before sunrise. Sunrise is when the sun actually comes up, but you see light before the sun comes up. Once it's dawn, then you're not allowed to eat. But if you get up at 3 in the morning, it's not dawn yet. You're allowed to. You can have a steak or whatever you want.
On fast days,
right? Yeah, right.
Get up early, have whatever you want, and you're set.
Right.
You can eat steak or whatever you want.
The trick is to drink the coffee and then fall back asleep before the caffeine kicks in. That's the trick, which is very difficult. Okay.
That one out.
Okay, so let's Okay. Next week, God willing, we'll talk about what happens if you started eating before dawn. Let's say dawn's at 4. You sat down to a meal at 3:50 a.m. and all of a sudden dawn comes. Do you have to stop eating, or you're allowed to continue your meal? We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about if you're allowed to learn before davening. Right? Maybe you'll get so engrossed in your learning that you won't. You'll forget. Can you take a haircut before davening and do work? And then we'll hopefully finish this simon, and then we could go on to where's the appropriate place to daven. Can you daven on the stairs? Could you daven different places? And
Yeah, where could you daven?
you gotta come. You gotta keep coming to find out.
In the house.
Yeah, you can daven in your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can sit on the bed and daven, right?
Can you stand on the bed and daven?
Sit on the bed.
Yeah. Can you stand on it?
No, I can't stand.
No, I don't mean physically. I mean, are you allowed to? Are you allowed to daven on the steps? We're going to talk about stuff like that. What if you're climbing a tree? Can you daven like that? What if you're a worker? You work for Verizon and you're fixing telephone poles. Are you allowed to daven in the cherry picker? We'll talk. God willing, talk about these issues in upcoming weeks.